And we are back for another casual conversation with the classic. And today, guys, I got a very special guest, a good friend of mine, former NFL player, professional wrestler, rapper. If you ask me, content creator, because go follow him on TikTok. None other than AJ Francis. You might know him or remember him as Top Dollar, but to me, he's AJ Francis. What is going on? We've made it. We are here.
Yeah, it took, some doing. I stood you up once. You stood me up a couple times.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying?
I have no recollection of this.
First time I ever came and talked to you, I was dressed as Nick Fury on Halloween. He was like, I want to do an interview. And I was like, well, I'm going to a Halloween party. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. I was like, well, just so you know, I'm going to be in costume. But I'm literally parked across the street from the bar in my car, dressed as Nick Fury, looking absolutely ridiculous, but it was a good interview. So
that's so crazy because I was like, I'm like, if you really want to just come help me with the TWC show, come on there. I'll talk to you. I'll interview you on there. And they're like, yeah, for sure. And I'm like, you hopped on there and you had an eye patch on. I was like, I don't remember this guy ever wearing an eye patch. And you're like, it's Halloween. I'm about to go out. I'm like, okay, sweet. I'm like, did someone poke your eye out? What happened here?
I was Nick Fury. I
I was so sick that day, and my regular co-host bailed on me. And then I was like, "Well, we got to make a show here." And I asked my friend Nick to come co-host the part of the show that was recapping the week. And then I was like, "Oh, I'll interview AJ," because you were wrestling at the time and all that stuff. So I was like, "I'll interview AJ. I'll have him come on." And you did, and you came on in the Halloween costume. But I was so sick, so I was like, "Thank you for doing that." Looking back, I was like,
when you're bald. There's a lot of easy options to be just bald characters, right?
Yeah.
And, or I can wear something with a wig and then I'll just sweat my ass off the whole. But, Nick Fury was a solid bald man. For all the bald men out there, Nick Fury is a solid and very simple Halloween costume. Black trench coat, black pants, black shoes, black eye patch.
Do you have a favorite Halloween costume you've ever done?
Yeah, I was Pablo Escobar, and I'll send you pictures of it so you can put it on the screen. And it was when I was in DC as a member of the now Commanders, and I shaved my beard and just kept the mustache and had a wig. Yeah, it was Pablo Escobar. This was right when Narcos was just first came out, so this was like. Everybody was like, this is the greatest costume ever. I was like, thanks.
No, that's sweet. So you got to send me pictures. I want to see that. We actually got to finally meet for the first time. We've known each other for a very long time. The pandemic has, fucked up a lot of shit for a lot of people. But we finally got to meet down in Orlando. It was my first AEW show. I came for Revolution. I came to the Busted Open party, and I was happy to see you. The first person I saw, I'm like, oh, AJ's here. And then you turned around and you said, you shit. And I was like, oh, AJ's here.
Yeah, that's the thing about me is I'm going to call it like I see it. So, yes, I did happen to have forgot that we had an interview because I was playing FIFA. Okay, yes.
But what happened before this interview?
I was playing FIFA.
Do you stream at all? Do you stream your FIFA games? Do you stream on Twitch or anything?
Yeah, I do stream. I stream on Twitch. I have a pro club team, so when you play FIFA, there's different types of modes. A lot of people play Ultimate Team, which is creating your team with players that already exist in the world, making the perfect team. And then there's regular 1v1 where I control a team, you control a team. And there's a mode called Pro Clubs where it's me and all my boys. And I play midfield. We have people playing striker, and we can play 11 on 11. And everybody has a role, everybody has to do what they're supposed to do on any given play. And during we are a top 40 team in the world. We've won 6 Division I championships. And on the team, we got former NFL players, we got rappers signed to record labels like Capitol Records. We got
so these actual people are a part of this team playing with you.
Yes,
wow.
NFL players, rappers, lawyers, doctors, pharmacists, lobbyists, a 12-year-old child. So
that's wild.
Yeah, one of my homeboys.
Very diverse team you got going on there.
One of my homeboys' sons, his name's Aiden. He's on the team. He's 11 actually. Turns 12 this year, and he's one of the best players on the team, even though he's less than half the age of everyone on the team.
That's awesome. Shout out to Aiden. That's awesome.
Shout out Aiden.
Yeah. But I think that also speaks volumes of like for people that don't know, like for people that saw Top Dollar and WWE, and we're gonna talk about WWE, we're gonna talk about Hidden Treasure Show and all that. But for anyone that knows you from that, I don't think a lot of people realize like you did play in the NFL. You're really well connected. You rap, you make music. You're well connected in that space as well. I was reading, and I'm surprised I didn't know this, that like this whole situation that you went viral for becoming an Uber driver in the off season. Well, like, were you intending to go viral, or were you just like, I'm gonna make some extra cash here?
So, really, what happened was, you gotta realize, I got good money now because I played in the NFL, and I wrestled WWE. Even though, truth be told, NXT is the worst money I've ever made in my adult life.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was growing up, I was dead broke. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had no money. Nobody in my family had money. I mean, I'm from around the way. That's just the way it is. And when I got to the NFL, my first year, I made good money, 6 figures. But I started from negative money. Like a year before that, I had negative money in my account.
You came in
right. So then, a year after that, I saved some money and I made 6 figures again, but I'm still saving money. And what a lot of people don't know is in the NFL, you don't get paid all year. You get paid during the season. So what you make during those 17, 18 weeks, you got to make stretch for the other 31. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? 34 weeks. You got to stretch it out, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what I had to do was, I was like, man, now in the off season especially, like we do OTAs, and like during OTAs you get, you get like $1,800 a week, which is not terrible, but you're not finna retire off $1,800 a week.
No,
right?
100%.
So, and we would be done every week at like every day. Around like noon, because it's just off season workouts. So like I could go home and sit on my ass and play video games and do nothing, or I could go out and make some more money so that I'm not just spending the money that I've already made throughout the year. And I just, the funny thing was, like, I just tweeted, just signed up to be an Uber driver, and it took off. Like, I didn't plan for it to go viral at all. Like, it was talked about everywhere. Like, Jimmy Fallon made a joke about it on the Tonight Show. Like, it was
that's wild though. Yeah,
huge. And I got a lot of heat from the Dolphins offense and offensive coordinator, because the joke that they made wasn't about me. They cooked the offense, because I played defense, so I didn't care. But he was like, Dolphins defensive line, Dolphins lineman AJ Francis has signed up to be an Uber driver, and it's crazy because it's the first time all year that the Dolphins have been able to drive more than 10 yards.
Oh wow!
Right? I play D-line, so
that doesn't affect you. Yeah,
I think it's great because he just mentioned me on the Tonight Show, and the offensive coordinator and the offensive players were not happy with how that joke went. But I didn't write the damn joke. Like,
that wasn't your fault. You didn't know that's what was going to come out of it. But I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. So and now, back then I was making good money Uber, and on one trip I could easily make $50, especially in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Now it's not as good because there's way more drivers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So like there's more cuts to the pie, and more people available to take rides for people. So like you're not getting as many as you used to. But nonetheless, at the time, they were trying to get rid of Uber in South Florida, and I actually helped Uber because of all the press and like doing like committee meetings and all types of shit like that. Like I actually helped them be able to pass the law so that now Uber is accessible in South Florida and Florida in general. So
South Florida needs to thank you.
Florida.
They need to thank you, South Florida. That's crazy. No, I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, there's so much about your life and what you've done that is like, it blows my mind. Like, I think if people heard like the full story, because like Even the time you came on the show and what we talked about with the the sausage wrestling castle and all that stuff. Was that what it was called? Like all of that with Mike
Castle Wrestling.
Sausage Castle Wrestling, Mike Busey, and all of that was just like it was wild. It's wild.
And
like,
the funny thing was, my
yeah.
favorite thing about when I was at the Sausage Castle was the fact that like Mike didn't give a shit about what the show put on. You know what I'm saying? He just wanted his fans that were at his house for the weekend to be entertained. So like he literally was like, here's the budget, put on a good wrestling show. And I was like, all right, cool. So I knew a bunch of wrestlers in the area. So I booked all the wrestlers that I knew in the area, right? And
so you were putting the shows together.
Yeah, I was booking all the shows.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Like I would literally go to people that I knew and be like, look, you can make more money wrestling somewhere else, but how many other places immediately after the show is it the craziest after party you've ever been to in your life?
Yeah.
And they're like, 0. I'm like, exactly. I was like, so let's do it. Let's have fun. And we'd have like 3-4 matches and we had our little storylines, and that's where I created the row. And that's where it was really my playground to like tinker with my ideas of how I was going to make this record label faction that I had in my mind the whole time. And then it was a good dry run at it. And then when I got to WWE, clearly I did a good job of putting it all together. And so when we ran with it with Hit Row, it was just a one-of-one type faction. You know what I'm saying? So like,
this is all, I feel like I'm getting tidbits and now it's all coming together like the pieces. Let's run it back real quickly, because if you guys haven't, go check out this Sausage Castle Wrestling if you can. If it's out there on YouTube or wherever, just check it out because it was insane. And
it's on MikeBusey.com. You can get you gotta go to his website. He has all the clips on there. Mike does a really good job of making you have to come to him. You know what I'm saying? You gotta come to the faucet to get water.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
He invited me to the house a couple of times. Like, if you're ever down here, you better come. And I'm like, it looks insane, but I never came down there in that time. But I think I would have had a blast. And just check it out. Check out Mike Busey. He's a character. He was on the Hidden Treasure shows. You guys will see.
Yes, he was.
You recognize him. You're like, oh, it's that guy. The WrestleMania 3 ring, all that stuff. Yep. Check it out. Which is
the ring that I first learned. That's the ring from South Castle Wrestling. That's where I first took my first bumps. That's where
was it the WrestleMania ring or was it not the WrestleMania ring?
No, well, here's the thing.
There's so many rings at the time.
Here's the thing. The truth is, they can't confirm nor deny that it is the WrestleMania 3 ring. It is absolutely a WWE ring from the time of WrestleMania 3. It is a ring that WWE used at that time. Now, is it the ring from WrestleMania? Is it the ring from Main Event?
Yeah, there's no way to tell.
Is it the ring from SummerSlam? There's no real way to like verify which exact event it was at, but it is absolutely a ring from that time. So it very well could be the WrestleMania 3 ring, and if it's not, it's the best in shape version of a ring from that time. So
let's run it way back there because I want to start at the really beginning, and then we'll get to Hit Row. We'll get to how that all came together. We'll get to Hidden Treasures. Got a lot of questions about that show. Wrestling. When did you become a wrestling fan? When was wrestling something for you, like your earliest memories of wrestling where you were like, this, I like, whatever this is, I like it? Like, how did that come about?
Well, my dad and my uncle and all their friends, they were wrestling fans when they were growing up.
Yeah.
And they stopped watching when they became a teenager, but they liked it so much when they were kids that when I was born, they just put it on. And I was attracted to it from like literally age 1, right? So like me and my dad always tells the story that like when I was 1 year old, like before I go to bed, me and him would have to have a wrestling match. And if he didn't kick out when I would try to pin him at least a couple times, I would start the match over. Like I wanted, you know what I'm saying? Like I knew that he wasn't supposed to just lay there, right? Even at that young of an age. So like I never stopped. Like I stopped watching religiously from my junior year to high school till my like sophomore year in college, just strictly off the strength of like I was busy every time the wrestling was on because I was getting ready to go play college football. Then I started playing college football, so it was like I was always doing something, training, working out, like practice, traveling, all types of stuff. So I never got to see it. But thanks to WWE Network, I've already went back and saw everything that I missed during that time. But
Yeah.
like other than that, dude, I've watched wrestling my entire life. Like, and not just WWE. Like I used to, when I was in college, I used to go to the Ring of Honor tapings in Baltimore because it was filmed in Baltimore and I lived, 30 minutes from there. And that's where the first time I ever saw Kevin Steen, now Kevin Owens, obviously.
Yeah.
If you go back, I'm sure like AEW just bought all the Ring of Honor tapes. I'm sure they'll have it somewhere. There's a time where Kevin Owens is working a feud with Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
And
I remember that. I recall. Yeah.
And he stole Jim Cornette's racket, right?
Yeah.
And in Ring of Honor, they throw the streamers in the ring. Well, I didn't go buy like 20 streamers. My homeboy would, and he would give me like 2, and I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna save these for the people that I really like. Yeah. So first person out the gate, Kevin Owens. I'm like, bingo, got one. I love Kevin Owens because I saw a lot of myself in Kevin Owens. And if you look at like my ring gear, like I'm just like he just wears a cutoff t-shirt and shorts. Mine's like a basketball jersey with sneaks, but it's the same look. Like, he was a chubby brother who can move very well for his size and can talk his ass off. I feel like I just
100%.
described myself, right?
Yeah.
So I was drawn to him. So I throw the streamer, and without even batting an eye, he sees it coming, turns, and smacks that shit out the park. Bow! With the tennis racket. Smacks it back into the crowd. It was the greatest moment of my wrestling fandom life at that point, right?
Did you ever get to tell Kevin that story?
Yeah, I told him that story. And the funny thing is, me and Kevin actually have the same birthday, which is weird. Both of us were born on May 7th. But I told him that story when me and Kevin was one of the guys that was genuinely cool and like willing to like sit down and talk about not just like wrestling, but like other things and be like a genuine human being that has human emotions. Like there's a lot of that lacking in the wrestling business, right? So like he was one of the really good people that I met while I was in WWE. So I told him that story and I told him that we had the same birthday and we've been cool. So it's really funny to see how everything shifted so quickly from like these people being like people I'm fans of to being like people I work with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, your peers. They became your peers, and it's wild. So when did you decide you want to pursue professional wrestling? Because obviously you were doing the football thing, did college football, there's the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
When was it wrestling, and was it music before wrestling, or was it wrestling and then music was something? Because obviously what you've told us already,
I never felt the need to limit myself.
Yeah.
So like I've been making music since I was 12.
Yeah, because I was gonna say you already had like the music mindset because you said the characters.
Like this is my house.
Built. Yeah, like the stuff that you built at Sasha's Castle Wrestling was also based around music. So I'm assuming there's music involved with it the entire time, right?
Yeah. So like, I've been making music since I was 12 years old. I've been playing football since I was 12 years old. I knew that football was my ticket out of the life situation that I was in. Yeah. Because I was born and grew to be 6'5", 360 pounds and fast, right?
Yeah.
So like at 300,
you're a big guy. When I saw you, I'm like, this guy's way bigger than, I don't know why. And you always knew you were big, but when I saw you at the Busted Open party in Orlando, I was like, oh, this guy's like, I think I was standing next to him like, you're like really, like you're big.
Because everybody is portrayed as bigger than life on wrestling. Right?
Yeah.
Like even when we were there, like Powerhouse Hobbs said the same thing. Like he was there and I met him and I was like, I see you, big dog, because he was one of them little. He was one of them little.
He had like the strings, the tiny things.
Workout shirts. He was swollen shit at that gym. And I was like, I see you, big fella. He's like, nah, I see you, big fella. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So like everybody gets portrayed as these bigger than life characters, but I'm actually enormous. And when I walk in a room, you can't miss me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like that's why I wear bright colors and shit like this, because people are gonna stare at me anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
So
then you want to pursue wrestling.
Yeah. So like when I get into I've been playing football and making music my whole life. And I knew that eventually I was going to wrestle, which is why like I bought a house in Orlando. Even though there's no Orlando NFL team, right? I bought a house in Orlando in 2016 because I knew I didn't know how much longer I'd be in the NFL, which ended up being until 2018, right? But I knew once my NFL career was over, the very next thing that I was going to want to do was go to WWE. And I knew that it would be easily accessible because I played in the NFL, because anybody who follows WWE knows that they want professional athletes, so much so that they're just skipping the professional athlete part and they're going straight to college athletes now, right? So
straight.
Like, they're just like, well, we can actually just get these people for cheaper and get 20 of them, and if we only
they're like signing them when they're still in college, super young, with the idea that when they're ready they can come here, and it's like, that's crazy.
So like they like athletes, like that's what they like, and I've known that, right? So I knew that eventually I would get a tryout, and I know myself, I'm athletic, I'm huge, I can talk, I know I'm going to get signed. Like, this is all, I know this already.
Yeah.
So like, and I would tell people, yo, I'm going to, they'd be like, okay, all right. I'm like, all right, bro, whatever you say. Like, I know what the hell I'm talking about. So, you know, I it really didn't happen until, like I said, Sausage Castle Wrestling. My boy Mike was throwing a party, and he goes, hey man, I'm throwing a party, I'm doing this wrestling show, do you want to come be on it? And at the time, I'm still a free agent in the NFL, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll come.
Yeah, but had you wrestled before that at all? Like,
no,
have you taken any bump to train? Okay,
I'd never wrestled, I'd never done anything, and that's what the crazy part of the story is. So like, I end up having the opening match was just a squash match. I didn't have to do anything but kill the guy, and then the main event was a battle royal, and I won the battle royal to become the #1 contender, right?
Yeah.
So like, at the end of the show, I'm in the back with the guys on the show, and they're like, man, that was great, bro. Like, you know, where's your home promotion? And I'm like, nah, bro, I don't wrestle nowhere. This was my first match. They're like, oh, this was your first match? That's crazy. Like, all right, so where you been training? And I'm like, nah, bro, I ain't never trained or nothing. I just know how this is supposed to look. I'm athletic, I'm coordinated, I'm big, so I don't have to do that much. Like, I know how all this is supposed to look. You know what I'm saying? And I've been a fan my whole life. And they're like, and mind you, at the time, like I said, I'm an NFL free agent, and they all know this. So they're like, look, man, I don't want to tell you how to live your life, because clearly the NFL is working out for you. You know what I'm saying? But you should probably get into wrestling school and really take this seriously. And once people who have been in the business a decade tell me on my first night untrained, yo, you got it, I'm like, okay, let me look into this. So a week later, I make a call to Team 3D Academy, now known as the Devon Dudley Academy. And I call them and I say, yo, can I start training with y'all? And literally for no reason other, like, obviously, Billy Gunn trained there, WWE Hall of Famer, now with AEW, obviously. You know, Devon Dudley, Bubba Ray Dudley. My main trainer was Serpentico, John Cruz, while I was there at AEW. So, and, you know, Jay Rios was there training too. So, like, heavy hitters on the training side and the connection side of wrestling, which is what you really need, obviously.
Oh, yeah, it really is a who you know business.
Yeah. So, like, but the reason I went to the school is because it was the closest one to my house. Right? So
fair enough. Yeah.
So,
well, you're smart. You made that move to Orlando, though. Like, that's still a big. That was still because you did that, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, I end up, you know, going to train there, and after about 3 months, after about 4 months, I get one of my buddies goes, who his name's Justin Leslie. He used to work for NXT's social media. Now he works for the Hard Rock Casino's social media, and or just Hard Rock social media. And he's like, yo, I got an extra ticket to the Page movie premiere, the NXT showing of it. You want to come?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I would love to see the movie. It'd be cool to see it with, you know, people from NXT. And that was the night that I met Bianca Belair and Montez Ford and a bunch of different people that I'm now still cool friends with, right?
Yeah.
So, like, but halfway through the night, Matt Bloom walks in, and Justin's like, yo, you should go talk to him. And mind you, through my own connections, I already had a tryout set up in July. Right?
Okay.
So, but this is like late February. And I go to Bloom, introduce myself, tell him who I am. And he's like, send me all your info tomorrow. I'll be in contact. I'm like, all right, cool. So I send him an email at 10 a.m. the next day, right? And at 11 a.m. the next day, he's like, your tryout's in April. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. Well,
so it got even closer. It's no longer in June, it's in April.
3 months? All right, cool.
Yeah.
Be ready, because what I have to do in wrestling is easy. like, especially when you compare it to playing D-line in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, I don't have to move that much, even though I can move incredibly well. I can stand in the middle of the ring and control the ring and get my character work off because I only got to hit you one time and you got to sell, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I can get all my stuff off and not do all that extra shit. But, like, it wouldn't be as easy learning how to wrestle for somebody who came in as fucking 5'8", 185 pounds, because you got to bump all over the place and you got to learn how to do all these different moves in order to separate yourself from the other people that are doing similar moves but making them a little different. Like, when I put a dude on my shoulders and hold another dude and put another dude on my shoulders and I'm carrying 3 grown men, like, the list of people that can do that ain't long.
Yeah, it isn't. No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't have, for what I'm doing, I don't have to really do much more than anything I want to do. Strictly,
it's wrestling that big man style that they always talk
exactly.
about. Right?
So, like, and credit to WWE because, you know, like I said, I wrestled at SCW. So, like, I did wrestle indie style for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I just wanted to get that out. You know, I wanted to have fun, and it was all about entertaining the crowd. And I was bumping all over the place, and I was doing top rope over the top rope taker dives to the outside on the concrete floor and all this dumb shit that I used to do. And like, you know, it was fun. But, like, once I got to WWE, you know, that style of big man wrestling is always going to be there because nobody's coming to a wrestling show and being like, yo, I really think that this 165-pound dude's going to whoop this dude's ass. Like, no, you don't think that. So the whole point of it is me being able to tell the story of how it could happen. You know what I'm saying? Like,
100%.
That's the story. That's the whole story arc of big man professional wrestling.
So how was the tryout? And was there anyone else there with you that ended up getting signed as well? And
yeah, the tryout was dope. It was 3 days. Now they got it easy. It's not as difficult as it used to be. The tryout was dope. Like, yeah, there was a bunch of people there. Like, EJ Nduka was there.
Yeah.
Reginald.
Yeah. Oh, wow, Reginald
was there.
Ah.
Ivy Nile from Diamond Mine was there. And most notably at the tryout was Jade Cargill.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. We've heard the story. We've heard the story.
I don't know how they let that go.
That is wild. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. But then, so you had the tryout, but our first exposure to you, for most people, wasn't you wrestling or NXT or anything. It really was the Hidden Treasures show.
Mm-hmm.
So you got signed and you accomplished what I was gonna say you accomplished what you want to accomplish, but really you accomplished what you knew you were going to accomplish. And you got signed to the WWE. You're under contract now. But they have you on this show for A&E first. Like, how did that come about, and why were you chosen to be the host of that show? Because for a lot of people, I knew you wrestled. I knew you were a wrestler. I knew your background to an extent. I think a lot of people saw you as the host of this show before they even saw you as a wrestler because they didn't know that. So how did that come about, and like what was that whole experience like?
Just like wrestling is all about who you know, Hollywood's all about who you know, man. So like, one of my very good friends from high school, his name's Tommy Williamson. He has acted in multiple different shows on multiple different networks in Hollywood. He's made a lot of friends in Hollywood. One of the friends that he has made happens to be an associate producer for Most Wanted Treasures. They're talking one day. This is right when the pandemic first started kicking off, because they were supposed to be interviewing people for the hosting spot, and they couldn't interview people because they couldn't get people to come in, because you know how it was when
everything was locked down and
right. So the months go by of them not being able to interview anybody for a host. And they're just starting to spitball. They're like, all right, who can we have host this, right? So, like I said, Tommy talks to her name's Kate, and Tommy talks to Kate, and they're talking about, she mentioned she's doing a show for WWE on A&E, and Tommy's like, my boy just signed with WWE. You should check him out. Well, like you called me a content creator earlier, she goes to my Instagram and my TikTok, and she loves it. She loves everything she sees. But then when they reach out to me, they realize I've been on TV for 10 years at this point. Like my first time on TV hosting, doing TV analyst work was 2009.
What did you do?
I did football and basketball and hockey and baseball coverage for every network in the DC and Baltimore area.
Oh, wow.
Going far as back as when I was a freshman at the University of Maryland. Like, I've always knew that I had the gift of oration, if that is. I don't think it is, which makes that funny.
The gift of gab. You have the gift of gab. You have the
no, I didn't want to say that for that reason, because that's everywhere it says that.
You have the gift of articulation.
Yeah, that also works. Either way, I'm going to go with oration because it's not a word and it makes it way better.
There you go.
So I knew that I could do that, and I knew that I was cool under pressure, and a lot of people get under the lights and they lose their mind. Right? Yeah. So that's not me. It never has been me. So, I have been on TV for 10 years hosting, I've covered Washington Capitals games and Baltimore Oriole games and Baltimore Raven games and Washington Wizards games. And, I've done all these things, and I've done a million post-game and post-practice interviews with the media. Like, I know how to talk and be able to show people another side of something that they've never looked at it that way. I've always been able to do that. So I sent them my reel and my resume, and they're like, oh, not only is he good at the gig, not only is he currently with WWE, but he actually has the resume to back up what we need in this position. Yeah. It was a perfect fit. And honestly, WWE didn't want me to do it because
See, that's what I didn't want to go there, but I feel like that seemed really odd for them to pick someone that was already signed on their roster that hasn't even debuted yet to be like, we're going to put you on this different project. It just seemed off.
They didn't want me to do it because I hadn't been on TV yet, but the network was like, nah, that's the guy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The production team was like, nah, that's the guy. Right? Yeah. So, and if you watch the show, they were right. Like, if you watch the show, you can see that what I was able to do on that show, I'm sure if they decide to go a different direction for the next couple seasons that they just signed on for A&E, because I am still under contract, but, contracts ain't worth the piece of paper that they're signed on. Yeah. So, if they decide to go a different direction for those, more power to them. Like, if they decide that's what they want to do, more power to them. But I know for a fact that whoever they get to try to replace me is not going to be able to do what I did. Now, they might be able to do it a different way, but I'm one of one. And anybody who watches that show can see that. And I think that when the show first came on, you didn't come in viewing for me. Obviously, the first episode was Mick Foley. Yeah. But after that first episode, you're like, oh, who's this guy? I like this guy.
Well, it's also like you had genuine interactions with the legends you got to hang out with. And the cool thing, and
the reason that is because they immediately respect me, because even though I haven't wrestled in WWE yet,
they knew you were
like, yo, I played in the NFL. Immediately they're like, all right, this guy's a somebody, right?
And to an extent, you were one of the boys already, but it just wasn't exposed to the general public yet. Like they respected that too. Like they looked at you in that way. But it's also like I was gonna say, just from that perspective, for the fan perspective, it was cool to see you have these genuine conversations with the wrestlers that we all dream having and to do, and to see you in this element. Like it was like seeing one of our people win and being able to do this, because at that point we didn't see you as a wrestler yet. We saw you as this AJ Francis, a wrestling fan. Look at him, you get to hang out with these wrestlers. Like that's a cool job. Like anybody would want to do that. So you're right. By the end of it, we're like, we like this guy. Is there a chance we could see you return for the show, or is it like 50-50 at this point?
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I'm under contract and I'm down to do it again. But like, there would definitely have to be changes to the schedule and the pay rate and all that shit. Because when I first signed on for the show, I did it so that I could get my opportunity on WWE. So I took less money than I would normally ask for. Mm-hmm. And I was told that the show was going to film from July to November, and it filmed from July to March. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there would be, we would have to have different conversations about things of that nature. But like, I would love to do the show again. My thing is, I genuinely don't think that they're going to want me to do the show again because of the situation that we're in right now. Like,
what do you feel about the concept of the show, though?
I love the concept of the show. The concept of the show is cool. It's just, to me, it's like
should there be a WWE museum? Like, there should be something, right? Like a Hall of Fame.
I'm not gonna say never.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say there'll never be a WWE museum, but I don't think that's really in the works. Like even when they were doing the show, it was to get all these items to bring them to like access, right?
Because that's the only time you see them.
Yeah, and and to be fair, it's the only time you see a lot of things that are in the warehouse. You know what I'm saying? So like, that doesn't make them any different than all the other cool stuff that they have in the warehouse. But at the same time,
what was the coolest thing you found in the warehouse? What was your biggest? What made you become a fan of him? Like, holy smokes, there had to be something in there.
I mean, there was a lot. I mean, like the 40 caskets they've used for the Undertaker over the years are all there. Like even famous ones like the Yokozuna one or
the Kamala one with the moon on it.
Yeah, the Kamala one, Mankind, like that. So a lot of all those are there. And then like when they did like the 20 on the stage at WrestleMania, like all of those are there.
Yeah.
The stock car cover from The Rock with like the Brahma Bull on it that says The Rock on it is really cool. The original SmackDown fist, the big ass fist, that joint, that was there. That's pretty cool. To me, it was funny because then they ended up selling it to The Rock, and so then when I went back later to film the show, it wasn't there anymore. But like they had like all the all the original XFL helmets and jerseys. So like they had that stuff, so that was cool. But like stuff like that for sure. They had like endless kendo sticks and like Bray Wyatt lanterns.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
like that, even just getting a tour of that place would be insane. I know some of the fans were able to get a tour as the trade-offs and stuff. And I found it so like the show was like actually really good because it's like it is crazy that wrestlers let a lot of this stuff go. You'd think they'd keep some of the stuff or whatnot, but they auction off to charities and they resell. And it's crazy that the stuff is out there with fans, and it is just kept at these fans' homes for their own benefit and stuff. And it's like, man, that should be on display. That is really cool. Like, you have the original Mankind gear. You have this.
Yeah.
One of the hardest episodes to watch was the Charles Robinson one in the robe. Because that was like, I even felt bad for Charles Robinson. I'm like, man, let him just keep the robe.
I'm standing there. And the man starts crying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I literally look, you can see it if you really look close.
Yeah.
In the edit, where I look at the camera like, yo, what the fuck are we gonna do here? Like, you know what I'm saying?
So, yeah, how much of it was real? Like a lot of it was real then, right?
Like, yeah, like what people don't understand is like the situations, like obviously we know we're going to Charles Robinson's house.
Yeah.
He has to know because we have to get the camera there, we have to sign off all the paperwork and all those things, right? But like what happens in scene, all that's real. Like when I'm negotiating with people, I'm told off camera what my budget is.
Yeah.
That I'm allowed to spend for the show's budget on this item. And then it's up to me to get it for that or less.
Yeah.
Like, I literally was negotiating with people. And so when people were like, nah, I don't want to sell, and I'd be like, yo, what do y'all want me to do? And they're just like, nah. Like there was one guy I didn't even end up making the show for the Kane Taker episode. The Kane, because we ended up getting Kane's mask from that he had in his attic. But there was a one that we filmed with a guy, this collector in Cincinnati, who he had like the Kane mask that was only worn 3 times. He wore it at, I think, SummerSlam 2000 against Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
And it was only worn 3 times. The inverted
one, where it was like it was the inverted one, right? I think
so. No, it might have been. Honestly, I can't remember right now, but it was in perfect condition because he only wore it 3 times. And then he gave it to Big Boss Man to sell at a charity auction. And then through sale after sale after sale, it ended up at this guy's house. And I came to his house with Kane, mind you. And he has a wall. Like I have all this stuff on my wall behind me. He has a wall of Kane masks and memorabilia and stuff. He was a Kane fanatic, right? Yeah. I brought Kane to his house, okay?
Yeah.
And say, yo, we need this mask. And he's like, I just bought it 2 years ago. I'm not ready to let go of it. I'm like, all right, I'll give you $5,000 for it.
Yeah.
Mind you, my budget is $10,000. And he's like, nah, man, I really don't want to do it. I'm like, all right, $8,000 for it. He's like, nah, man, I really don't want to do it. I'm like, $10,000, man. Like, I can give you 10 grand for this mask. And he's like, nah, man, I just really don't want to do it. And I'm like, all right, well, you know. And then Kane steps in. He goes, how about $11,000? And I'm like, I look at the producers and stuff, and I'm like, is he allowed to do this? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Right? Like, because I don't want to get it. I don't want people to be mad at me because, like I just found out the budget. Like, I don't know if Kane knows what it is, right? So then Kane's like, how about $11,000? And the guy's like, no. He's like, okay, how about $11,000? And I make some calls. I'll get you round trip airfare and hotel and good seats to WrestleMania this year. You'll be at all the WrestleMania events all weekend and $11,000. This guy just offered him the trip of a lifetime and 11 grand. And his idol is the person that offered him this. Yeah. Like, nah, man, I'm really cool with what I got now. I like the mask. Right? So end up not making the show.
Crazy.
That's the level of fandom. Yeah, the man turned down.
Some people have sentimental value to the things. Those people like the whole Andre the Giant mask situation from there was just a lot of things that was like these people are never gonna budge. I think
no. And the Andre the Giant thing was like Sonny Ono. Like, my problem wasn't even the fact that he held the auction with us there. My problem was like they held the auction and tried to price gouge us, and we wouldn't let them. Yeah. So then like the auction ended, and the guy who should have won the mask, Sonny was like, nah, I could get more from somebody else, and just like didn't sell the guy the mask that won the auction.
That's like, crazy. Wow. And I also thought it was really cool just from like a personal standpoint. My first Undertaker was the purple glove, purple tie Undertaker. And I've always wanted him to just like wear that one more time, like come out of the WrestleMania, and he never did. But the fact that he found it and he actually had it the entire time.
Bro, I'm telling you, I'm sure he's moved all that stuff now. Yeah. Because they showed like the place where it was on the show, so he's not an idiot and he's not his stuff stolen. But if somebody would to have happened to have came across that storage unit a few years ago, I mean, it is not ridiculous to say with all the things that I saw in there, because y'all only saw what they put on camera. And to put in perspective, the amount of stuff that doesn't make the show, me and Undertaker talked in the car for like 2 hours doing an interview, and from that interview, like 45 seconds made the show. Okay. Wow. So like extrapolate that out to the fact that in this storage unit, no bullshit, it was probably $1 million worth of memorabilia. I'd be willing to bet. And I don't think it would be hard to get to that million, because even simple things like he had the original leather travel bag from SummerSlam when they were in Wembley. Yeah. Like something like that could go for 10 grand easily. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a bag, let alone all the pictures he had, all the gear he had, the different Undertaker memorabilia. He had like 10 hats in there. Each one of those is moneymaker.
That's crazy. Because a lot of the stuff you never saw him bring it back on. And then you're like, oh, he had all of it. Yeah. He's one of those people that really didn't give it away or auction off a lot of it. He had it.
He kept
it. He just stored it.
He kept it.
That's wild.
And it worked out for him now, because now he's got a treasure trove.
Yeah. So what was it like working with all these legends right off the bat, though? You haven't even made your TV debut, but yet you're here with The Undertaker, Kane, Mark Henry, Mick Foley, Big Show. Like, you're working with all these people that you obviously grew up watching and looked up to, and now you're working with them before you even make it to the, on television. How was that?
It was awesome.
Did you get any advice from any of these guys that really stuck with you?
Yeah, I used to pick their brains, and like, especially like, even like I said, like me and Mick Foley road tripped to Chicago from Indiana. Yeah. Just us in the car, no camera, and just talking about the business, talking about plans. Like, I bounced ideas about, because at the time it was called the Hitmakers, which is what it's called again. But I bounced ideas of Hit Row, like, off of every single one of them from Undertaker. I showed them all promos that we had done and that I had done, and moves and matches and all types of stuff. And I did it with Taker and Kane and Mick Foley and Mark Henry and Booker T. And the thing that's cool to me is that, like you said, I hadn't been in the ring yet. They could have been an asshole to me, and I would have just had to sit there and take it. But none of them were like that at all. They were all genuinely good people. And I made cool connections with all of them. Like if I wanted to right now, I could text the Undertaker and ask him about, you know, what he's going to be doing WrestleMania weekend, and he would respond. Like every time I've ever tried to talk to him, he would respond. Like I can get in contact with these people and they are willing to talk because they see in me and what I've done from the beginning. Like they saw it from behind the scenes, because a lot of times when you get to that level, you only see what's shown on TV, because Undertaker ain't coming to the PC but like 2 days every 4 years. You know what I'm saying? Like same thing with Kane and Mick Foley and all these guys. So like they don't see any behind the scene work, but they got to see everything that I was doing behind the scenes and got me to and helped me like put pieces together in order for me to come out and have the kind of breakout year that we did. And though it ended very prematurely, like what Hit Row did cannot be denied, because if you go back and watch any segment we're in, whether it's a match, whether it's a 45-second backstage, whether it's us selling merch at one of the takeover events, everything we did, we killed it. Like every single thing we did showed on TV like, yo, these guys got it. And that's because we had 4 stars. Like most factions have a star or two and then some ancillary characters who are either good wrestlers or just, you know, you look at Diamond Mine, like Malcolm Bivens, he's the mic guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy that talks on the mic. He's not going to beat nobody's ass. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not what his role is. In Hit Row, Swerve can talk, I can talk, Brianna can talk, Tahuti can talk. We all can work. We all have a unique look. Even though we're all in the hip-hop realm, Swerve is the backpack conscious, you know, Kendrick Lamar, Travis Scott, Lupe Fiasco, JID type rapper. I am the hood, Pioneer City, Griselda, Benny the Butcher, Conway the Machine type rapper. Brianna is the pretty girl, Doja Cat, Cardi B, you know what I'm saying, Megan Thee Stallion, sexy girl rapper. And then Tahuti's the fashionista producer. You know what I'm saying? So even within the fact that we were a hip-hop faction, we had 4 different aspects of hip-hop culture. And that's what I think was the coolest part to me.
So when I talked to Swerve, he told me how Hit Row was pitched to him. But now talking to you, I can see that you pitched the Hit Row idea. How was it when you pitched in? What was the initial reaction from the powers to be when you have this idea, the Hit Makers, which was eventually Hit Row?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did it go over? How was the reception to it? Like, because it did start with the 3 of you, and then eventually they brought Swerve into the mix and pitched it to him. But like, how was the pitching of the Hit Makers?
So, like I said, I had the row at SCW. And then I came to WWE and I wanted to do it with Swerve and Leo Rush, but Leo got released and Swerve was doing his own thing. So I was like, you know what, let me focus on myself. And so I was just doing my own thing backstage and at the Performance Center. And Ryan Katz pitched the idea of me, Tahuti, and Brianna joining together as a crew, not as a rap crew, just as a crew in general. And I pitched the idea to Brianna and Tahuti, like, yo, this is what I was already doing on the indies. This is the idea that I have. It's never been done before. Brianna, you already rap. Even though I'm the producer, we can pretend that Tahuti's the producer. Like, he don't do nothing with music, but we can just make it seem like he does, right? So, like, and then they were like, yeah, I love that idea. So then we were doing backstage PC vignettes and matches and all types of stuff together, just the 3 of us for like a year. For like a year. And then about 2 weeks before, or like the week after Most Wanted Treasures debuted, there became obviously a rush to get me on television. So, so then Triple H pulls me and Swerve aside about Swerve joining up with our crew. And then we ended up, obviously, neither one of them knew that I wanted Swerve in it from the beginning.
Since day one,
So, so I'm like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. So, we end up changing the name to Hit Row, and then he's in the feud with Leon Ruff, and then we debut at the end of that feud, and then we're off and running. So like, it was a lot of the cool thing is that like, Swerve being added to the crew, we didn't have to change anything in the crew. And the only thing that we didn't have at the time was somebody who like Tahuti can wrestle with anybody on planet Earth, and I'll stand on that till the day that I die. But like at that time, he hadn't done it on TV yet, just because he hadn't been given the opportunity.
And Swerve already kind of came in with a reputation.
And Swerve already was known as a worldwide wrestler. So that was like the indie darling of like
he was.
We didn't have that in the crew, and adding Swerve also gave us that, along with every aspect of the hip hop thing that he brings to the table. You know what I'm saying? So like, it was cool. It was cool because it added another element. What really kind of threw all of us off is like we told him from day one, we're like, yo, there is no leader in Hit Row.
Yeah.
But they kept trying to, like, especially in NXT, they kept trying to make it seem like Swerve was the leader of the crew.
Yeah.
And Swerve, to his credit, as well as myself and Brianna and Tahuti, we would tell him like, no, bro, it's not. There's no leader. Like,
no, and he said that too.
Point.
He's like, I didn't want to have like lackeys and stuff, but he's like, they kept pitching to me like, no, you guys are together, you're equally on a team.
Yeah, like we're trying, like we were all stars. So then, like, when we get called up to the main roster and people are like, well, Top Dolla is going to be the leader now, and I'm like, first of all, how many times in different interviews have we all told you there's no leader?
Yeah.
And second of all, this was my idea. So how like how are you mad at me that they're like, all right, the guy whose idea was we're gonna see, and the biggest guy, and the only person that goes on camera and is immediately bigger than 99% of the roster. We're mad that he's like, come on, son. Like when Swerve got his North American title reign, I was the first person to be like, congrats, you deserve it. Because let's be real, Swerve was in NXT for 2 years. They never gave him nothing until he was in Hit Row. He put over everybody else until he was in Hit Row. He finally got his once he was in Hit Row, and he had been deserved that a long time ago. But it didn't happen until he was in Hit Row, right? So like, when it happened for him, I was like, congrats, bro. You deserve it. I was so happy for him. If you look at the pictures from the night when he won, I'm like hugging him. I'm all hyped. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, that was a win for Hit Row. That wasn't just a win. It was a win for Swerve for sure, but it was a win for Hit Row. You know?
Bro, we had been on TV for 2 months, and they were like, hey, here's the title. Run with it. And we're like, cool. Yeah. And clearly, what we were doing was special, because if you really realize it, from literally the day that I debuted, or we all debuted, May 4th, right?
Yeah.
We debuted on May 4th, and we got released in October.
Wow.
Right?
Why did it seem like it was longer than that?
In all of that time, even considering he won the North American Championship, in that entire time, Swerve worked 4 matches.
Oh, wow.
I worked 6 matches. Tahuti worked 5 matches. Sorry. Brianna worked 3 matches in a 6-month time frame, or 5-month time frame. We only had to work limited matches because what we did as entertainers was so good that nobody gave a damn if we wrestled or not.
But that's the beauty of like old school wrestling. You didn't have to wrestle that often. You just, if your characters in the act, in this case it was an act, was over enough, you just being on TV to cut a promo or do a video, like people were hyped just to see like, oh, we saw Hit Row. You didn't have to wrestle that much. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because there's a weird emphasis now that like wrestle. But it's like, yo, there's a art of not having to wrestle so much and just being over. That
the
when
reason
you do
why
wrestle, it's special.
The reason why the emphasis is wrestle is because 95% of guys in this business, if you put a mic in front of them, they melt like butter.
Yeah.
And it's because they can't stand under the pressure of having to entertain. The thing is, when you are people got mad at Damian Priest the other day because he was like, you can't be a WWE superstar somewhere else other than WWE. Like, duh. Like, it's called WWE Superstar.
Yeah.
But more importantly than that, like, when they say sports entertainer, like, the entertainment part is lacking from a lot of people. which is why they focus so heavy on the wrestling.
Well, you don't get those reps on the mic in the independents and stuff. You don't get to like cut promos on a regular basis. You can in some companies they'll let you. Most of the time you get booked for a match, you go there and you have the match, and maybe you cut like a happy regular "thanks for having me here" promo, but you don't get to cut a promo like in character anywhere. That's not a thing you get to do often.
But here's the thing: is you do, and the reason why you do is because I do. Like the Frank Style Fridays that I do, and I'm gonna have another one dropping this Friday.
Yeah.
For the match that we have with STP at GCW, like that's a promo. But the thing is, people don't know how to sit and like, you know who's really good? Like he's completely opposite of how I do it. But his promo videos online are always incredible. Killer Cross.
Yeah.
Killer Cross's promo videos be like 45 seconds of like a scary looking crow and some scary music, and then like his feet walking away in a graveyard, and it's like, oh, that was dope as shit. He had to, like, you know what I'm saying? But like, not enough people focus on the character aspect because they're like, well, I can just go work a crazy match with anybody and people will love that. Like, yeah, bro, like it's wrestling, and being a very good wrestler comes in handy when you need it to. But if you are solely relying on your wrestling, then you're just like everybody else that does the same thing.
No, I agree. I'm a big character storyline guy. I've said that a million times on the TWC show and everything else. Say like that's why I was drawn to people like Hit Row. I'm drawn to Alistair, Malachi Black, whatever you want to call him, because he's always focused on the character stuff. I love character stuff because that's what gets me drawn into the matches and makes me invested in the product. I grew up with the Macho Mans and the Undertakers and these characters that were so larger than life that I barely remember their matches. It's just their promos and their presence and their entrances is what got me. So I completely get it.
I always say this: if you put a top 50 in-ring grappling wrestlers list all time, does The Rock make that list? Probably
no, and
not.
I said all the time, that's always my view with The Rock. I'm like, I can't. I can if I really try hard. But I can think of 5 of my greatest favorite Rock promos, but before I can think of 5 of my favorite Rock matches.
The Rock probably doesn't make that list of guys that are
Austin after he broke his neck was just a brawler.
Yeah, but if you put a list of top 5 performers all time, Rock's number 1.
Up there, yeah.
He's number 1. I need this to be clear. The Rock is the greatest wrestler of all time, and it's not debatable. And here's why. The man kicked off the Super Bowl. Let me say it again. There's not many events bigger than WrestleMania in the world. Yeah. But the Super Bowl is definitely one of them. For you to be standing on the field with a microphone cutting a promo before the Super Bowl starts, you are a different echelon of star. Okay?
Yeah.
There's never, ever, ever been anything like that in the. I don't care if you talk about Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair or Stone Cold. You can say whoever you want. The man kicked off the Super Bowl. It's undeniable.
No, 100%. 100%. Was there plans for Hit Row on NXT before you guys got called up to SmackDown? Or was it just you guys were going with it, then the call up happened?
Yes and no. Like we were gonna have a bigger blow off to the Legato feud.
Okay.
Like the plan was to have a big 6-man match at a pay-per-view, which obviously the plans end up getting scrapped, mainly because a lot of people don't know this, but Tahuti's appendix burst.
So that's the other thing that happened, because he had an injury that was disclosed that nobody knew about, but he was hurt.
Yeah. Tahuti's appendix burst, which you can't control, obviously.
Yeah.
And it happened like 2 weeks or a week before we're supposed to have the big blow-off match. And that's why me and Brianna ended up getting kidnapped, and Tahuti was missing. And then when we went to the main roster, the squash tag team match we had was me and Swerve because Tahuti couldn't work. Right?
Yeah, so that was the other thing, because then everyone on the internet was saying, oh, this is the new team. It's going to be Swerve and AJ. They're going in this direction. But nobody had a reason why.
No, what happened was Tahuti's appendix burst.
Yeah.
But we don't, let everybody think that they know every damn thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't feel the need to give you this man's medical history at the time. You know what I'm saying? But, like, what really happened was that, like, his appendix burst. So it kind of threw a monkey wrench in all the plans. And then they scrambled, and it ended up working because they, Swerve ended up getting his win over Legado, and then, then he ended up dropping the belt to Carmelo, and that's clearly been working for Carmelo. So, like, all in all, it ended up working. But what was supposed to happen? We were supposed to have a big blow-off match with, 4-on-4 blow-off match with Elektra Lopez as well. It was going to be good. It was going to be real good, but, it ended up not coming to fruition strictly off the strength of, untimely appendicitis.
Yeah. And then you guys get called up to SmackDown. You guys are a hot act on NXT. They clearly caught wind of what was going on down there. We want these guys on the main roster. Is that basically what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think what happened was, like, you're having a draft.
Yeah.
And you're intentionally trying to draft people from NXT.
Yeah, you want to bring some fresh faces up for sure.
Yeah, and if you're at that time, if you're looking at NXT, if you're not bringing up Hit Row, then who the hell are you bringing up?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, I felt like they kind of felt like they had to bring us up. And then to the point that, and the real reason I feel like that is because they didn't have a plan for us when we got there. Like, when we got there, it was, this week you're working with The New Day, next week you're working with Sami Zayn, next week after that you're working with Jinder Mahal, and then now you're gone. Like, they didn't have a plan. They had to save millions of dollars because people were like, well, how they cut you guys? And they said budget cuts, but, they made record profits. It's like, bro, it's a business. If you cut $3 million from your expenditures, right?
You're missing profits.
Before you got to spend that $3 million on, let's say, Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar or Seth Rollins or Kevin Owens, who no question at the time was more over than Hit Row because we just got there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got to save the money, if you can, as someone who runs businesses, if you can cut costs to be able to use that money elsewhere, then when you use it elsewhere, it's kind of like you're saving money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're not taking away from your bottom line, which allows you to continue to have, wait for it, record profits.
Yeah. No, I get that. Like, I get it. That's like it's a business. And I think at the end of the day, that's what wrestling fans. The WWE hasn't been a wrestling company since the year 2000 when they went public. It's been a corporate business. It's been a shareholder. It's a business, and a lot of the things that happen aren't personal. It's for the business aspect of that company with advertising, sponsor, all that stuff. But that's a whole different topic.
Yeah.
Did they have plans for you guys at all? You just said they didn't, but like, was there anything that they had going for it? Was it just like, you guys are here, we're gonna try to use you as much as we can?
Yeah, it was literally when I asked Vince, I said, "What are the plans for us?" It was like, the plans are to get you guys over. So, all right, cool. Like, that's cool. I'm down with that. But that's like to be like, all right, you guys are gonna working towards a feud with the New Day. Like, no, they didn't. There weren't any.
Yeah, there's no like initial plans.
No.
How was your relationship with Vince? Because obviously you did the show before debuting on TV. Now you're on.
I mean,
TV.
to be honest, to say that I had a relationship with Vince would be a lie. I really only talked to him 3 times ever. I mean, all 3 times that I talked to him, it went great. Like, we had no problems. Like, it wasn't really any issues. It was just, he's running $1 billion corporation. So, like, his time with people a lot is limited. So, like, I've rarely ever talked to the man. So, like, when people are, like, online, they'll be like, oh, Vince is an asshole. Vince is this, Vince is that. Didn't you hate working for him? He's the worst. I'm like, bro, like, I've really only talked to him 3 times.
Yeah.
And all 3 times were cool. So, like, I can't, you want me to say I hate the man or that, like, but I'm not phony. Like, I can't tell you that I hate somebody that hasn't given me a reason to hate them. You know what I'm saying?
Was the writing already on the wall for you once Brianna was let go first?
The writing wasn't on the wall for us to get released. The writing was on the wall that they didn't get or understand Hit Row.
Yeah.
At all. Strictly off the strength of, like, you let go of Brianna. Brianna's the one thing that, like, separated us from every 3-man team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
and it's been a long time that we've ever had a faction that actually featured a woman. I know they have a few on NXT now, but for a point, it's been a really long time.
Yeah, and because a lot of times women don't get an opportunity to shine with men in wrestling.
Yeah.
Right? When women shine, it's with other women, usually. And that's not just WWE, that's in every promotion, right? So like to be able to have a girl who not only added something different to the crew, but was a major player in the crew was really different.
Yeah.
So like once they let go of Brianna, it was kind of like I still didn't think we were going to get released. But like I immediately was like, oh, they don't get it. Like they brought us up because we were hot and we were everything the internet was talking about, but they don't understand who we are and what we're doing because it's obvious. Like you let go of Tahuti and keep Brianna, me and Swerve can still do all singles matches and tag team matches. And we have this pretty beautiful woman who is an ass kicker and can talk her ass off with us. You let go of Swerve, same thing with me and Tahuti. You let go of me, same thing with Swerve and Tahuti. But you let go of Brianna, now we're just every 3-man team. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we're still the rappers, but like we're that now we're just rappers in gimmick. You know what I'm saying? Like we're just another 3-man wrestling team.
And I can say there's a lot of women wrestling fans that tune in just for the women's wrestling that don't really care about the men's wrestling. And she was that part of you guys that had the women being like, well, there's this Brianna girl part of this group called Hit Row. And I'm saying that from someone that deals with the fans all the time and engages with them. There are some women's fans that just care about women's wrestling.
Yeah, and there's some men's fans that believe that shocker love beautiful women.
Oh, 100%. I know. Have you seen my page?
Yeah, you post beautiful women on your page all the time, right? So like shocker alert.
Yeah.
Like, there are men fans that like beautiful women. So like getting rid of Brianna, like it like, and the thing that killed me about it was the way that I found out. Like I found out once my plane landed. Like my plane landed and my mentions blew up, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I get a text from Brianna, and I'm like, I cannot believe that they did this. And then that's why like people will say, oh, he's difficult. He's too much to work with. I'm difficult because when they released Brianna, I had called and said, yo, what are y'all doing? Like, why would you do this? Like, just because I don't sit on my hands and say, yo, oh, okay, it's just business, brother. Like, yeah, like, no, bro. Like, I genuinely, she's like my sister, bro. So you like release her without even being like, hey, you know, this is why we're doing this. You know, we don't think that you guys need her going forward. You know, and I would have still been like, I think you're tripping. But like to just, yeah, she's gone. And then they'll be like, all right, well, you guys will figure it out. Like, what the like, come on, bro. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Not a heads up or anything. Just you guys found out in the weirdest way. And it's crazy because you guys went there as a group. So you at least think the group would know of anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not even just like, okay, you had to make a business decision. I'm not even mad about that fact of it. It's just like, to me, it just was so like.
It showed that they didn't have faith.
Like nobody helped us make Hit Row.
Yeah.
Nobody helped us write a promo. Nobody helped us with the entrance song. Nobody helped us with none of that. We made the entrance song here in my studio.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I wrote the song and everybody came over and did their part. Like, we made it here. I presented it to them like, yo, here, take this. Because I knew damn well that if we didn't do that, and we would have just came out to Swerve's music. And if we say that we're a rap group and we don't have a song that we made, guess what? We're just like everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we needed our own song. Presented them the song. They clearly love the song. The fans love the song. It's a great song. We're making a new one for the Hitman.
Oh, there you go.
You know what I'm saying? But like, people,
I know, and it was evident a lot of fans were disappointed when that Brianna part was taken out.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't even hit the
like,
it doesn't even hit the same.
Then they take her, they release her, and then they take her out the song. And then like, it's crazy because like the message is always so disconjointed. Because one thing I learned while I was in WWE is that people will say that Vince said something, or in NXT they'll say that Triple H said something, but they never said that. They've never even been presented the idea of what you're talking about. It's just that person being like, well, if I tell him that Vince said this, then he'll just listen to what I have to say, right? And it happens. Everybody who has any power in both places does it because, and I'm not the only person that knows this. Everybody knows this. It's just a dirty little secret nobody talks about. Like, so, like, when they first presented us the music without Brianna, people were like, they were like, well, you know, Vince doesn't want her on the song. And I'm like, okay, why? She was released. She doesn't need to be on the song. It's like, okay. I was like, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever. And then when I talked to Vince about it, I was like, yo, would you have a problem with Brianna staying on the song? Like, we don't need to change the song just because she's not here. It'd be a way for us to pay homage to her helping us create Hit Row anyway. You know what I'm saying? And then they were like, Vince was like, yeah, I mean, do we own the rights to the song? I was like, yeah, y'all own the rights. We don't even own the rights to the song. Like, you know, he was like, yeah, that's fine. And then they still changed it. So it was like, all right, well, you know, clearly.
Do you think doing stuff like that to like going to events after the fact, someone said it might have hurt the opinion of the office of you guys after that?
I don't care, honestly.
Yeah.
If me, the person who did everything to get us to this
a
point,
passionate creator of your art and craft, yeah.
Like, if I am saying, look, I created the last song, which you love. We made this one-of-a-kind group. Nobody helped. Y'all, we had the fastest call-up ever, and nobody in the PC helped us do anything except say, this is the camera that's going to be on when we do this.
Right? Yeah, that's crazy, yeah.
Right? So, me coming and be like, yo, this is what I think we should do. How is that any different from any other person who is a person who cares about the art that they're putting on? Because when Xavier wants to do something for New Day, that's how he presents it. When Roman wants to do something, that's how he presents it. When anybody who actually gives a damn and isn't just there for a check to say, oh, thank you, sir, for the money. Like, when they actually care about the character that they're presenting on camera, that's how they tell people, yo, this is what we should do. Like, did it rub people the wrong way when I stood up for Brianna when she was released? I'm sure it did. But I would rather rub people the wrong way because I stood up for my people than I stand up for my people.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Same thing with like the people like to pretend like the Jinder Mahal song was you guys got released because of the Jinder Mahal.
Yeah, I remember when that dropped and that became a little bit of a situation.
And it was like I was like, Jinder knew the song was coming. Jinder was in the room when I picked the beat. Jinder loved the song. Like, you even messaged me and was like, yo, I don't know why people are tripping.
I was like, this is funny, and I knowing Jinder the way I know Jinder too, I'm like, I'm sure he would have been like, this is funny.
Yeah. The whole point of it, if you go look at his Twitter, the whole point of it was that I released it. He literally quote tweeted it and tagged other famous Indian rappers who helped make his
that
song.
We get a reaction. That'd be cool.
So that they would respond to me.
Yeah. So
that we could build this feud. Even
Jinder's really well connected in the community. They would have. That's the crazy part.
The thing was like, that was the whole plan from the beginning. Yeah. But people who don't even know that the beat that I used is the most iconic Indian sample in the history of
hip-hop. That's the Punjabi MC Jay-Z remix song.
Exactly. But the thing is, like, so many people who pretend to be I like hip-hop. The first rapper I listened to was Eminem, and I've loved hip hop ever since. Right? Those guys, and no shade to Eminem, he's in my top 3 all time. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, right? You started with Eminem. That's not the start. That's not the history.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was hip hop way before Eminem, right?
Yeah,
it was hip hop way before John Cena, right?
So
like,
no, that's a good comparison. Saying that you love wrestling, it's your favorite thing, and John Cena's your
you know what I'm saying?
Like, Cena's the man. No disrespect to Cena, but
Cena's one of the best, and Cena can rap, and Cena actually can rap. He gets a bum rap. He gets people talk bad about him like he can't rap. He can rap. He's just also playing a character when he does. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But he can rap. So like people who like that are like, oh, this beat is racist. I can't believe you did that. I'm like, what? You don't even recognize the homage that I'm paying in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even understand how wrong you are.
That was one of the few times that like hip hop and like Punjabi Indian music like connected. You know what I mean? One of the few times in history. There's a couple, but that was one of the few, and that's the biggest one. That's
the biggest one.
That's the biggest one. That's like if I go to a club in Florida or in California or Vegas and they see a group of brown guys, Indian guys like me, they'll play that song. That's a song that for you guys over there, like, and that's the song they play. You know, like,
you know what I'm saying? And were you offended when I released the song?
No, but that's because I saw it. I'm like, that's funny. I get it. But that's the thing with me is I see wrestling as like, if it was offensive, it's intentionally offensive for the sake of the feud. Like that's how wrestling works. Like things are supposed to. If he's trying to piss this guy off or make fun of him, you're gonna do things that are offensive. And I'm sure if Jinder got the opportunity, he'd do something offensive back. Like that's just how.
Yeah, like
when
Shanky turned his hat sideways and was
like, wasn't that offensive? Wasn't that appropriation of culture? But
yeah,
like he should have.
All I did was laugh and say, "Yo, that's hilarious." Like now we gotta respond, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, anyone that are mad about that, and I, like you said, I did message him. Like, I don't understand why anyone would trip about that because it's wrestling. Like, this is what wrestling is. Like, it's wrestling. It's not real. These characters are making fun of each other. Once again, these characters are making fun of each other. As you just mentioned, you talked to Jinder. He was cool with it. The people knew what was going on, but these characters are having fun with each other. Wrestling is scripted. But yeah, that whole situation too. The AEW situation, the stuff with the kicks, is that the reason that AEW is out of the picture, or is it just?
I mean,
I don't want to say out of the picture.
I never said the AEW's out of the picture.
No, that's true. You're not. Yeah, no.
They just ain't never called me, and I'm not trying to go somewhere where I'm not wanted.
No, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
we saw that whole interaction about. I don't know much about the shoe culture.
I'm not worried about all that because the people that are mad that I made fun of their sneakers, they've said way worse about other people.
Yeah.
Right? So, and at the same exact time, like there's other people, not just in AEW, but in WWE and in every wrestling promotion that have done way worse things than that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just call it like it is, right?
That wasn't a question from me. That was a question from the internet. They wanted to know if that played a part in anything that's going on today.
No, I mean, you got to understand, Swerve already knew all these guys for years. Swerve worked with all these guys.
I've been watching Swerve versus Darby since like 2016.
Swerve is cool with Darby. Swerve's cool with Sammy. Swerve's cool with the Bucks. He's cool with all these guys that work at AEW. So, like, obviously, when he's released, they're going to go get their homeboy. They don't know me from a hole in the wall. They don't know Brianna. They don't know Tahuti, right? And Swerve wanted to do his own thing, and more power to him. Like I said, Swerve was I've said before, Swerve was a singles wrestler for 10 years before he was the last person added in Hit Row. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when Hit Row got released and we all decided what we were going to be doing next, we all had a meeting and came together, and Swerve was like, yo, I kind of want to go back to doing my own thing. And we all were like, more power to you, my boy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy for you. You got 2 beautiful daughters. You got a pig. You got things that you got to support. Get your money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's never an issue. My thing is, like, I grew up wanting to wrestle in WWE.
And you did, though. That's so cool. Like, you did accomplish.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't like, I would love to go to New Japan and wrestle in Japan. Those
weren't goals of yours. Those are things you'd love to do.
I grew up wanting to wrestle with WWE. I did that. Well, now, because of that, and because of WWE's Most Wanted Treasures and the success of the show, I have a lot more opportunities outside of wrestling, right?
Yeah.
So I don't feel the need to go be a wrestler every weekend.
Yeah, you don't have like that drive to go wrestle in indie films all the time.
It's got to be worth my time.
Yeah,
I know my worth. I did an interview with the Public Enemies podcast a week ago.
Yeah,
and every day for over a week, every wrestling website has run a story about something that I said in the interview, a different thing that I said in the interview, because I talk and people listen. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why you think I was the first person to talk about sneakers on the internet?
Yeah.
No,
100% no. And it just like, that's the thing that people are like, oh, that's probably why. And I'm like, I don't think that was as serious as people take it. I think there's a lot of, and I've seen, breaking the fourth wall for a second, but like I've seen that like a lot of things that are said on the internet and the interactions that happen on the internet, people, the fan base take way too seriously. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, a lot of these people are like, they're really friends. They all really know each other. It's not that serious. If anything, they know they're messing with all of you. Like, they know if they say this and that to each other, like, the rest of you
the thing is that I said this before in an interview too, like, fans and wrestlers alike, the things that they'll say on the internet and the things that they'll say to my face are completely different.
No, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? It's completely different. The vibe is completely different. I've never once had a negative interaction with a wrestling fan or any wrestler that I've met in the business since I've been in WWE for real that was negative to my face. Because when you're disrespectful online, you're behind a screen.
Yeah.
But when you're disrespectful in person, you got to stand on that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make you.
Yeah.
Right? So I have come to the conclusion that, man, if you want to feel that I'm a certain way, go ahead and feel it. I can sit in my crib if there's 30 days in a month, I can sit in my crib 27 days playing video games, kicking it with my dogs, go do 3 signings, and then not change anything that I have to do. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm more than cool with kicking it. Now, at the same time, if you want eyes and ears on your product, it's been a proven fact that what I say, people care about. And what I create, a la Hit Row, is one of one. Nobody else in this business can do what I do. And if you think I'm wrong, tell me. If you think that you can do better promos than me, diss me.
Yeah.
If you think that you are an ass kicker and you will shut me up when you see me, just shut me up when you see me.
Yeah. Fair enough. 3 last questions. First one, if the opportunity arises and the bag is right and everything, all stars were aligned, would you go back to the WWE?
For sure. Like, that's not even we don't even have to think about that question. Like, I've already had conversations with people there. Like, I don't think that that's outside the realm of possibility. Like, I genuinely have said it before. Like, the release was we weren't able. People say, "Oh, you guys got released because of such and AJ got everybody released." Well, if I got everybody released, why did they release Brianna 2 weeks earlier? And also, on top of that, why did they release like 8 other people with us? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I got all them released too.
And we've seen people get released and come back. We've seen people get released, go do their thing for a couple of years and come back and have great success. Jinder, Drew McIntyre, like, it's always a possibility. So, and I know your goal was to wrestle with the WWE and you've already done it. So that is ticked off, but I'm sure there's a lot of goals you want to do while you were there. So I was curious, like, if you would want to go back. And
I would definitely be down to go back. But at the same time, like, if I were to go back, like, now it would have to be different because Swerve's in AEW, right? Swerve won't be able to come back. So, like, if I guess we would go back as the Hitmakers, or maybe it's just me. But for realistically, like, I'm a man of my people.
Yeah, you want to take your people.
When people was running stories about me being a hard to work with, I was at a charity event where I was collecting canned food drives for homeless children while people told me I was a bad person, right? But those same people who were anonymous sources that said I was a bad person, not a single one of them anonymous sources helped me raise canned foods and non-perishables for homeless children, right? So I have always taken that with a grain of salt. Now, because, like I always say, I stand up for my people. If they want me to come back, I would genuinely have to. If they want me to come back,
you would bring it up. You pitch it. Like, I want these guys to.
I want to come back with Brianna and Tahuti.
Yeah, it would be a conversation you'd have 110%.
That's what I want. But if they only wanted me to come back, I would have to talk to Briuni. That'd be a cool couple name.
Briuni. Yeah, we're just combining them.
I'd have to talk to Brianna and Tahuti and be like, yo, like, what do y'all think? Because, like I said, like, and I know them, they'd be like, man, go get your money. Just like we did with Swerve, right? Yeah.
But you have that conversation. You're not just going to. You are loyal to. I mean, we were friends before you even made it to the WWE. Like you said, you came on the TWC show. You never changed the entire time you were there. Anytime I hit you up, and your level of support, like, because and I'm just like a wrestling fan on Instagram that you befriended, and like you never changed. Like, and that's why I can vouch for it.
seek genuine human connection. If you are a good person, I can tell. And if I think that you're a good person and I want to be associated with you, then I'm willing to work with you even to a fault, right?
Yeah.
So like the difference between me and a lot of people in the wrestling business is everybody else in the wrestling business, this is their like they don't have any other way to try to make money for their family, which I respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can make money in a multitude of different ways. So like I don't feel the need to stab somebody in the back behind the scenes just to make myself look good in the hopes that I'll get a pat on the back for it later. Like, and that's what the wrestling business is full of.
Hitmakers. You guys, I see you guys already booked for shows. You got the GCW stuff. What is the future of the Hitmakers? Is this something like if most of the time you're going to be doing appearances in wrestling, is it going to be mainly Hitmakers or nothing, or is it like what's the move forward?
So I am, like I said, wrestling business is all about who you know.
Yeah.
I came on your show because I have a genuine connection with you, and I've turned down 25 other damn interviews a week, right?
Yeah.
But I came on here because I wanted to be with you. Same thing with the wrestling bookings, man. Like I said, I don't need to wrestle. I got other things that I can do that I am doing. For example, I'm directing a documentary as we speak on my pro club team that I mentioned earlier. Right?
Yeah.
So I have a million other things that I can do, right? So
you're a creative person. You have a ton of ideas all the time.
Mm-hmm. And so like if somebody wants me to come and be on their show, the first thing I'm gonna tell them is, well, what about Tahuti and Brianna? Because the Hitmakers are an act. We are all together. I'm not trying to go if they're not going, unless it's somebody I know personally and they're like, yo, I need you to do a main event match with such and such. I just need one person, like da da da. And I know that person. Like for example, there's 2 different shows in Florida that haven't been announced yet that I'm going to be on, that are be in April. But I also worked those shows before I got to WWE.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I already had the connections.
It's a different relationship, yeah.
So like, but somebody else, like if another promotion that's on television comes knocking, like I don't want to do it if it's not with Brianna and Tahuti. Being real, like I don't, because I could do it I could have did it by myself in NXT.
Yeah.
But they helped me create something that is one of one, and also Tahuti is the level of performer. Tahuti never got the respect that he deserves. Tahuti always gets mad because he feels like he's the afterthought. He's always the afterthought of when people would talk about Hero, they would talk about Brianna and me and Swerve. And he always felt like he was the afterthought, but like that boy is a star. Right?
And it's crazy because when I interviewed Swerve, the same thing. He's like, there's a lot about Tahuti that people didn't get to know.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole Tahuti has a wild story that and he's like, I feel unfortunate.
He was in the army. He was in war. Like
it's unfortunate we never got to that point where we got to let him be, because like people knew who Swerve were, people knew who you were. Brianna was the girl in the faction, so she stood out.
And the worst part is they went out of their way to make sure that we didn't do that, because we in our first debut promo we wanted to talk about how Tahuti, because or one of our promos he was like. Well, he wanted to say, like, everybody talks about they're ready for war. But I've really been to war. And they was like, we don't want you to say that. It was like, why?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, like, and then Brianna, I mean, I don't even have to hype her up. You already know what it is about her.
Yeah.
And I don't have to hype myself up. You already know what it is about me. So, like, we can give any promotion that's looking for it something that nobody else can give, right? And props to Swerve. What he's doing now, but even what he's doing now, he's doing Swerve as the realist, that character. He's not doing the record label mogul faction. Like he's making songs and he still raps, but he's not doing that part of the character, at least not yet. And you know what I'm saying? And he could, and if he did, I mean, he'd be good at it too. But like, I have always wanted to do that idea of the record label faction, and I brought it to fruition, and it worked.
And it's never really been done in mainstream
because
wrestling.
It couldn't be done.
Mainstream wrestling,
because it couldn't be done, because that's the kind of thing you can't fake. First of all, you got to be a real wrestler, and you got to be a real rapper.
And that's the next question. Your music career. What's going on with it? Where can people find your music?
Well, Swerve got his album dropping Tears. I'm on there. I'm on a song called Digits on there. Right now I'm doing Frankie feet. I'm doing the Frank features, you know what I'm saying? I'm doing all the features. I just dropped a project in December called First Class.
Yes, sir.
And it's you can get it in my bio link on all my social medias, which is politely right here at AJ Francis 410.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? Like I just dropped that, so I'm doing features for a lot of people, as well as, you know, I got this song with Swerve on his album. I got a song with Mike D'Angelo and Arsenal the Rebel, who's a battle rap legend. That'll be coming out called Connected. We already shot the video for that. I got a song that I made with Vernon Davis, NFL future Hall of Famer.
Wow.
He asked me to jump on the song with him, so I did that for him. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I
AJ's doing okay. AJ's perfectly fine.
Bro, I'm cool. I'm cool, Slim. You know what I'm saying? And the cool thing with me is that, like, I don't gotta fake the funk for nobody. Every time I come on one of these interviews, I say the same things because I stand on everything I say. I'm not the type cat that's gonna say one thing and act another way. I'm gonna show you who I am.
There's no bitterness. There's no anger. It's just, this is what it was. It is what it was, and that's what happened. And I like that, you know. And you did what you wanted to accomplish. You told everybody you're gonna go work for the WWE. You're gonna wrestle. And you wrestled in the WWE. You wrestled on SmackDown. You were on national television. And you'd go back, but like, that's not many people can say they want to do things and you played in the NFL. You're just ticking boxes. You're ticking boxes.
Yeah, 3 albums, really 2 nationwide tours. I mean, let's talk about
just ticking boxes.
Oh, hold on. We can swing the camera over here. That's my master's and bachelor's degree. Don't worry about it.
Didn't even talk about that. Just ticking boxes. Like, there's a lot to be proud of, and you're killing it. And, you know, wrestling is a small part of who AJ is fully, but I appreciate you coming on here and talking wrestling with me for like an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
Like I said,
you want to make it 2 parts or what?
I don't know, maybe, but I tweeted it out. Well, the thing is, like, we'll talk about but I tweeted it out. I'm like, it's crazy because I know once we get this in the bag and we do this, I'm like, I'm sure I'll tell AJ to hop on the TWC show and talk about wrestling regularly, something, and it'll be easier than us trying to get this done. But we got this done. We got the casual conversation done. I'm really glad we did. And it was fun, man. And I'm looking forward to everything you're doing. And I just think I've always found you really intriguing because you're super honest. Like, there's no holding back with you.
No,
there's no propaganda. There's no propaganda here. You say
I'm not like I said. I'm a real dude. Like, I'm a cat that got it out the mud. That nobody ever handed him nothing. I made myself into what I am today. And the thing is that, like, I am unapologetically not just Black, but proud of everything that I've accomplished because nobody else has ever done the things that I've done. And those people don't exist other than sitting right here. So, like, I am grateful that I was able to do all of these things because I know that it's just God-given, my man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I go out of my way to reach out and help the underprivileged kids in my community because there's so many kids that I grew up with that were just as good at me at football or got just as good grades that I did or, you know, was my height. You know what I'm saying? All these different things, but they weren't able to do the things that I was able to do. And I really feel like it's just blessings. And I've just been blessed my whole life and I continue to be blessed. Like, who would have thought that getting released from WWE would give me even more blessings? Like, I got stuff coming out. I told you about the documentary. I got stuff coming out that I can't even tell you about because, you know what I'm saying? Like,
they'll definitely be around too. You'll be back on.
It's a hush hush.
You'll be back on, or you'll come on the TWC show. Like,
for sure.
The conversation will continue. Like I said, I consider you a friend. I appreciate your support all these years. I appreciate you always, like, rapping Wrestling Classic and resharing stuff and just being like, you know, not fuck with Justin. I appreciate that. You know, like, when I saw you and you know, there's certain people, like, I meet people all the time as you meet people all the time, and there's people who are like, you know, you see them and it's an introduction. It's like, you know, trying to feel each other out. I didn't even feel like I had to feel you out. I saw you and I felt like I already knew you. The first thing you said to me was, "You shit." I'm like, "We're cool." I'm like, if that's the first thing you said to me, we're cool.
Yeah.
You know? So there's a level of comfort here that is already
absolutely.
So like, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, and yeah, you'll definitely be back on, man. And where can everybody find you, even if they haven't found you already?
Yeah, just, you know, follow me on all social media at AJ Francis 410. Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter,
And go
everything.
follow him on TikTok. He's hilarious on TikTok.
Oh, I'm about to pass 200,000 followers on TikTok.
There you go.
I just passed 4 million likes on TikTok. So,
That's why I was like, you're a content creator because you're popping TikToks out all the time. I'm like, that takes effort.
I usually post 2 a day. If one's doing really well, I'll just leave it alone until it dies off a little bit. But usually I post 2 a day, and I got some cool content. So go check all that out. And my website is ajfrancis.me, so you can check me out there, find out what I'm doing when I'm doing it. So, yeah, man, I appreciate you.
And Hit Row still lives, but they're the hit makers, and they will be
Hitmakers
all
here.
around.
You know we mean business.
Mm-hmm. And they're going to be around, guys. They're going to be around in Dallas. If you're going to WrestleMania weekend, they're going to be all over the place. Keep your eyes out. We got GCW and ROW on the first, both on Fight TV. So we got other stuff we're doing. So yeah, it'll be cool. Keep following them, guys. I'm telling you, you haven't heard the last of the Hitmakers. It's just the beginning, but keep doing the thing, everybody. We'll see you all next time. Hope you guys enjoyed this show. Ooh, yeah, dig it.
We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.